I'm Geoffrey in the Kingdom of Sweden campaign from the 1648 mode for Medieval 2 Total War Kingdoms by Fracta. Some rebels have been devastating the land north of Greiz in Saxony. The governor of Greiz, Jons of Brandenburg-Küstrin, sallies out of Greiz with part of the garrison and attacks the rebels in a pitched battle. The rebels consist partly of unpaid mercenaries and partly of peasantry, perhaps destitute men, angered at the pillaging of their land and the destruction of their homes in the continual fighting. Our general, being cruel and cunning, comes up with a suitably cruel and cunning plan.
There'll be no escaping us now! Attack!
But before listening to his plan, let us first listen to his pre-battle speech.
I've heard men speak well of me because I do not throw lives away needlessly, and I gain victory for those who follow me. I will not use false modesty and deny these things. Indeed, I say proudly that they are true. I will give you victory, if you have the guts to fight like devils when I ask it. And so, make your peace with God and any rivals in our ranks, and set your heart on what is to come. Go with God, men! Raise our banners!
And now that the speech is out of the way and our men are suitably inspired, let's get on with the battle. So the plan is that the main line will defend to the right of this village while the cavalry will sneak through the village and attack the enemy rear. Indeed, our enemy, having not noticed our move, attack our main line with their cavalry. Their cavalry is immediately routed. Our pikemen were about to make a flanking move, and they have made their move. The retreating cavalry bumps into the pikemen and are slaughtered almost down to a man. A few men survive. Our cavalry in the meantime, as it was sneakily passing through the village to attack the enemy rear, was discovered by these enemy peasants with their axes, and they blocked the way and in fact killed one of the horsemen. The rest of the enemy units try to attack our main line. Here's another attack by enemy cavalry, rebel cavalry. They've been intercepted by the drummer and the captain of this pike company. Nonetheless, our general, Jons of Brandenburg-Küstrin, found another road, another street, and attacked these peasants. He surprised them, and now they are routed. And he is now in the rear of the enemy lines.
If we continue like this, we will smash.
But before he turns his attention to the rest of the enemy army, he takes as many prisoners as he can among those peasants. These axemen had attacked our pikemen. They've been routed. A block of pikes have attacked our pikemen, and they are being shot in their flank by our musketeers. Here our general takes the enemy general prisoner.
Guard him well and make it so he can see us defeat the rest of his army.
The enemy rebel captain is now a prisoner of our general, and suddenly the enemy army loses their spirit. So Captain Edmund is now taken prisoner. Here are our cuirassiers. They've made eventually a flanking move and attacked those X-men that have blocked their way inside that village. These X-men now are on the run, and the cuirassiers are chasing them, taking prisoners. Here's our general. He's about to attack these arquebusiers.
Our men are winning the battle. The enemy are... Behold how our cowardly foe runs. It's time to press the attack.
That had been hiding behind this hill out of sight of our musketeers, so they are mostly intact. However, they have been surprised. Perhaps they were laying there in ambush, but they found their ambush master. They found someone who was more cunning than they were, and so they have been routed, and the entire rebel force is now in full rout. They are running for their lives.
All of Christendom will be awed by the victory we have won here today.
So Jons of Brandenburg-Strien has succeeded. Indeed, he spared the lives of his men. Only 68 of his men were slain. And he himself took 439 men prisoner with his bodyguard, nearly half the enemy army.
Such is the fate of all who oppose us.
Glorious victory. Our enemies crashed. Jons of Brandenburg-Strien is a proven commander and feels respected, having won such a glorious victory, and his loyalty has increased. And here is Dresden. Dresden is again under siege for the second time this summer. This is the first Imperialist army, the larger of the two armies. They have some Tyrolean musketeers among them. This is a smaller army. This is one of the armies that survived after the previous siege.
Be gone! You are not mein Kaiser.
And so here's another look at these armies, the bigger army and the smaller army.
Come and face the might of the Reich, coward!
The bigger enemy army is commanded by Captain Johann, the smaller one by Captain Ulrich, one of the survivors of the previous siege.
They'll wish they'd never been born, sire.
The city is defended by its governor, Adam Afal-Zimmern, and it is being relieved by Leonhard von Oostergotland, as he did in the past. He's bringing along several musketeer and pike units, a dragoon unit, and also a unit of archers you may remember from the previous siege. So Dresden, once again, under siege. And the garrison of Dresden sallies out to unite with a relief force under Leonhard von Oostergotland. Here's our general's bodyguard, Adam of Pfalz-Zimmern. And here is the Imperialist army, the first Imperialist army, the larger Imperialist army. They have noticed the sally out, got word of it, and they are moving in the direction of the army that has sallied out. They are numerically superior, and in a straight pitched battle they would have had clear superiority. But under the circumstances, we have the walls of the Star Fort on our side, and they are bombarded by cannon. Our men are protected behind the walls, and from there they can fire from a position of safety at these pikemen that are marching in the open. Now, in real sieges, the attackers usually would make entrenchments. So they will make trenches and they will entrench themselves in the trenches, and they will also build redoubts, that is earthworks, redoubts with a B, as in I doubt, you doubt, redoubts, which were earthworks that served as places where men could barricade themselves, especially musketeers, and fire from behind. They also sometimes have their own artillery, and sometimes they built small bastions for it, or raised platforms, or all kinds of things. So there were various works around the Star Fort that would provide shelter for the attackers if they were themselves attacked by sortie by Saliot. So this is our general now, Adam Afalziman, and he has sallied out. He's skirmishing ahead of the army, as we do not have any other cavalry, and he's attempting to lure the enemy army this way to attack our army in a pitched battle under the walls of the Star Fort. The enemy army is hesitating very wisely, so they are staying here in the distance. A few musketeers here made for a moment a move to approach our general. They've been hit by cannon from the walls. A cannon shot kills several of these men. The ensign proudly holds the flag of the Imperial Archduchy of Austria, the glorious double-headed eagle, but his men are almost cut down to a handful. These are the Tyrolean musketeers, a very deadly musketeer unit from Austria. They are just being murdered at the moment. Dresden had been a place in the midst of things around 1631 in actual history. So it changed hands a couple of times between the Imperialists and the Saxons. And here mortar fire from the fort is hitting the enemy lines. They've devastated that Tyrolean unit. Our general is still skirmishing outside here. This area had also been part of the theater of war during the Danish phase, so the Battle of Dessau Bridge had taken place not too far from this area. And the Battle of Lutzen also took place around here in November of 1631. The Battle of Alta Veste was not too far from this area, it was in Franconia, closer to Weimar. So our general now is retreating because some enemy units have finally been persuaded to move in this direction. And they're coming close to the walls. They have been hit by mortar fire. Mortars at this time were firing explosive shells. And indeed, during the English Civil War, one royalist force under Prince Rupert got one of these mortars with explosive shells, and they used them in a siege to terrorize the defenders. It was a German mortar with German explosive cells that it was used during the English Civil War. In just one battle, at least it's reported in one battle. So here are some very brave Imperialist musketeers. They are running the gauntlet underneath this bastion, being pelted with grenades. One of the enemy generals has been slain. Captain Ulrich, who was coming with reinforcements, has been shot. He has been slain. Our general is skirmishing back towards the main line. These enemy Cossacks are foolhardily running straight towards our main line. We have some pikemen on the right, you might have just seen them. And the Cossacks have been routed. They're running for their lives. There are also a handful of musketeers there. And now you remember we mentioned something about the archers. So the relief force has some archers, and they've gone back to that bastion you've seen before. So this is a different battle, but the tactics are similar since the armies are similar. So archers and grenadiers now are hitting those Imperialist units attempting to pass by this corner of the Star Fort. Here's some Porciform musketeers. They have been massacred. They have been routed. Another enemy post-reform musketeer unit is taking over. They're also being hit by grenades and arrows.
For the moment, the fortune of battle goes our way, and trade remains as such.
They are being destroyed. They've also been routed. So once again, the Imperialist armies are commanded by mere captains. They don't have a general, so they're fighting in this haphazard way, attacking piecemeal in waves. So here's another Imperialist company of post-reform musketeers. They're running the same gauntlet. They're being hit by cannon fire. That unfortunate man was thrown in the air by a cannon shot. And they are being hit by grenades now, and by arrows, and by gunfire, by musket shot. And here's their captain, Captain Edmund, if I remember correctly. You can see him near the ensign.
The enemy general has no honor. He flees the field of battle, abandons it.
And they have been routed.
By St. George, our men have slain the enemy general. Now him his troops are always willing to fight.
And the enemy general, the enemy captain, the enemy commander, Captain Johann, has been slain by a grenade. Our grenadiers have sent him to meet his maker. Our archers keep harassing enemy units coming this way. And now all kind of command that might have been there has been lost. Our mortar battery is firing at the approaching units. Our musketeers on the walls are decimating any unit coming this way. And mortar shells are destroying their morale. Fire from the sky. It has turned the battlefield into flames. They have to run through flames to get to our Saliao. And every unit that dares to come this way becomes decimated. Just a handful of men have survived and they're running for their lives. So you can see now the strategic situation on the minimap on the right. We have the army of Captain Johann around here, and the smaller army of Captain Ulrich in the distance, just going around the bastion on the other side. And here is a unit of Imperial Tertio, a very deadly unit. They've come under fire from the musketeers on the walls. You can see they are suffering casualties, and they are hesitating, having lost so many men, whether to continue. But they seem to have resolved to continue now that their ensign and drummer and captain have joined up, have caught up with the rest. And it looks like they lost their drummer, but they push on. And there are now only a few of them left. They've been hit by mortar fire. The battlefield is once again turned into hell. There's fire and smoke everywhere. The ensign has been shot. He's on the ground. He gets up from the ground. Their captain checks to see if he is okay. He gets shot a second time. His captain gets also shot. And there are just 2 men now surviving, and the last man, and he's slain too. The entire company of the Imperial Tertio has been wiped out. And here is the second army of Captain Ulrich. Captain Ulrich himself, as we said, has been slain, but his army decides to march on to reinforce the army of Captain Johann. who is also slain. It's a very interesting landscape. In some places it looks very German. It really is perfect. And it has been a very wet summer. Sometimes German summers are wet. So the army of Captain Ulrich is slowly making its way. The army of Captain Johann is strewn on the ground. There are more men dead than alive, and there are more being shot and killed. This is not a battle. This is an execution. What are these people doing? What is the AI doing? So this lone ensign marches. Ah, he's dead. And quite clearly now we're winning the battle. I hope the enemy gives up, because this is now suicide for the AI. They are being just executed. And to a degree that's because of the OP-ness of the post-reform musketeers that are manning the walls of the Star Fort. They have an attack of 20, and that kind of value is just devastating. We gave them this high value to somehow simulate the fact that there were units that could fire. Here's the last man who's slain. To simulate the fact that there were units that could fire by rotation of ranks, since the animation does not work very well, so we thought we'd do it this way. Also, Swedish units could fire volleys that were very deadly. But it's just too OP. Just people here are being executed. Their captain is dead. Just a handful of men still running. This is completely hopeless. And so these, what are they? These Uskoks are about the last man on the battlefield. Just one more man alive. He is running for his life. And he's shot. Dead. So the army of Captain Ulrich has been almost completely destroyed. This is the last remaining unit of that army. The reinforcements, they never got to reinforce anybody. They got just executed on the way to joining the army of Captain Johann. And this, I believe, is what is left of the army of Captain Johann. Suicide, massacre. This is not a battle. This is murder. One last pikeman has been shot dead by a cannonball. Oh no, there is one more pikeman. He marches on regardless. His cell shocked. Maybe he's blind. He just ignores the death whisking around him and marches on.
The enemy are badly bloodied. They have lost half their men.
Disappearing into the mist. One more unit. There's still some Imperialist soldiers around the Star Fort still alive and running. Their captain has just been shot. These men keep running. half a dozen men are still standing, or rather still running. That lone pikeman who disappeared into the mist is here. That's him. He's marching on. No bullet can kill him. Oh, but a grenade can. He was killed by a grenadier. Look at this death. Look at this mayhem. Just these few wise men are running for their lives. They've seen enough death. There are cannonballs flying in the air over their heads. And they're keeping a cool face, they're keeping their composition, ignoring all the cannonballs flying over. They ignore the mortar shells landing all around them and those exploding in the air. They're being shot by the musketeers. These two here near the front have been wounded, but they keep on. They keep on regardless. Run! All is lost. Run for your lives. Just one man left, he gets shot, that's it. What was that?
Behold how our cowardly foe runs. It's time to press the attack.
Why weren't they running? And there was this one unit of the Imperial Tertio very wisely stayed in the distance and watched the battle in the distance, never got anywhere close to the walls. You can see where they are. They just held that position throughout the battle. Very wise pikemen. But now we have some cavalry. There was obviously one unit of arquebusiers in the reinforcements, and now they start firing at the flanks of this Imperial Tertio. And that forces the pikemen to make a move, and instead of attacking the arquebusiers, they march to meet our own pikemen in battle. But they are being shot in the flank as they march forward. Now they've decided to face our arquebusiers instead. They just stand there, taking the shots of the arquebuses. This did happen now and then. There were battles in which the defenders just had to stand there and get shot. These unfortunate pikemen have no musket support, and there's little they can do against skirmishing cavalry that can always move away. They just have to hope and pray that their armor will stand and protect them against the arquebus shots. They are not arquebuses, they are Italian reiters. They are armed with pistols, so they cannot cause so much damage. Still, they've managed to kill more than half of this company of the Imperial Tertiary. And the survivors attempt to charge them with their pikes. Our cavalry wisely skirmishes away. Now the enemy has come under fire from the walls and brought our archers out.
Behold how our cowardly foe runs. It's time to press the attack.
Our archers had sallied out, and a volley of arrows has broken the enemy pikemen, and our reiters are galloping after them, taking prisoners.
By the grace of God, our foe is utterly vanquished. Let all who remember this day remember it as the day of our most glorious victory.
Adam, our fast Zeman, has gained a glorious victory, losing only 6 men. 2 of the post-reform musketeer units firing from the walls have killed over 1,000 enemy soldiers each, over 2,200 enemy soldiers, the 2 of them. And 6 of the enemy, 6 soldiers of the Imperial Tertiary have been taken prisoner. They are being released. The enemy celebrates.
Nothing can stop us, sire.
And the Austrians lift once again the siege of Dresden. Thank you for watching.